Hello and welcome. Graham Crawshaw and Victoria here to help you through this next session. So welcome to our session. What we're covering in the next 50 minutes is looking at balancing cost and sustainability, building a strong case for procurement success. And delighted to be here. And we're live. Let's make that very clear. We are both live. This is not being I don't know how we can prove this isn't recorded, Victoria, but we are definitely here. We're based, both of us, in the UK, and it's just gone midnight. So we're here. So we're full of energy. We are, absolutely, we are. So we want to talk about this because I think it is so critical. Let's not miss the sort of almost the elephant in the room that procurement is facing, the challenge of balancing cost and sustainability. My name's Graham Crawshaw, Procurement Content Director at Casme. One of these people, I've been in procurement throughout my whole career and now spend time ensuring that everything that we do is really suitable for what category managers are looking for. Victoria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks very much, Graham, and I echo your enthusiasm. I'm going to get going as well. It's midnight. It's great to be here, and thank you for having me join the session with you, Graham. So I'm Victoria Folbig. I am the co-chair of the Human Rights SPP chapter, and with you here also as a Casme facilitator, and hopefully sister in arms for this topic. So delighted to be here.
Great, thank you, Victoria. The plan for this session is very briefly need to set the tone, make it clear how sort of what we do at Casme, but not because we want to really promote that, but more about letting it be clear the information that we're going to share, the rationale as to where that has actually sort of come from. And we're doing that because we then we're really excited to share some benchmarking results from the work that we've been doing over the last few weeks. So we're launching that early this morning now and getting that available to you. We're then talking about developing a win-win approach. Then we want to do some live polls. We've got a couple of polls, and then we'll just summarize up with some key takeaways. For those of you that have been with the sessions already, there's the Q&A. Always very pleased to receive some questions, and we'll have time to answer those and get into those. So that's the plan for this session. If you are not aware of Casme, then we are an organization. We're a procurement community that puts on around 200 network events during the course of a year, and it's from those we're able to produce around 1,000 insights, and we do lots of benchmarking. So benchmarking and surveys is in our DNA. We very much support indirect procurement and cover the 20 odd indirect procurement categories and about 12 procurement processes that really are set to support category managers. So that's what we're all about. But there's one very key, unique part about Casme, and that is the fact that we don't work with any suppliers, sponsors, or consultants. So everything that we do, very much like SPP, is for procurement, and it comes from procurement. So the source and credibility is therefore very high, and that's what I really like about everything that we do. We're not going to be producing a document or survey that comes from any other source other than procurement category managers. So yeah, we benchmark very much, and the whole sort of idea is sharing that procurement knowledge. So sharing with peers, and we know what is important for procurement. And of course, the topic we're talking about today is absolutely critical, and we've been following that now for a good number of years. So a lot of opportunity to be able to share that knowledge around the procurement community. That's Casme. So hopefully that sets the scene and gives you that reassurance that the benchmarking results that I'm going to start sharing and Victoria and I are going to sort of talk about, you know where that has come from, because we put that request out from our members and we had some really great response. We then also topped up that response by doing a bit of a LinkedIn campaign so people could also add in their contributions. And you know, that survey is still live, and perhaps a bit more about that later. So if you want to really contribute, if you want to sort of put your information into that, then that will be very well received. But like all our surveys, it's kept very straightforward, and it really isn't, it doesn't take long to give the answers, but it's really useful to get that pulse, that insight as to what is going on in procurement. So that's the plan. So literally, this was concluded about 3 days ago. We were late delivering our slides to the SPP guys. They were very patient with us, weren't they, Victoria? Which was just as well, because otherwise we would have got in trouble. But we were so keen to make sure we could share the very latest summary of the information. So let me talk through the results. And Victoria, please interrupt me, because, you know, I'm bound to forget one of the points that we'd really like to make. I know we've rehearsed this, but even so, it's you know what it's like when you're under pressure and the time is on.
Absolutely,
Let's start
no problem.
with one of the first questions that we asked. And we're really trying to be very realistic about everything that we do. So what is the obstacle to companies, to procurement, from progressing ESG sustainability initiatives whilst they are also trying to focus on cost savings? And we deliberately asked this question to begin with because there is a lot of pressure. We both spend our lives talking with procurement professionals, and you've got that balance. You've got that juggle to be had. How can I do what I'm being asked to do? All the great things we've been hearing over the last few hours, but there is no question of it. In March 2025, the pressure on cost is enormous. And so it's like, well, can you do both? And I think that's what we're trying to really get across, and hopefully give you some examples where you can achieve both. But at this stage, we wanted to understand, what is the difficulty? And I think it's this measurement. So the longest response, 29%, the difficulty in measuring the positive impacts for comparison with cost savings. Now, we all know that we've been trying to measure cost savings forever and a day. And that's a whole nother story as to how you ensure cost savings flow through to the bottom line, and you've got credible cost savings reported. But it's a question of balancing that challenge of the savings from ESG initiatives, sustainability initiatives, alongside other cost savings. There's an issue with suppliers, and I think I've heard that an awful lot recently, where suppliers are saying, hang on, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to be doing cost savings, or do you want us to be doing the completion of all your surveys, all the other work that you're asking us to do? Suppliers have got limited capability and capacity to be able to respond in the way that you want. There is the perception of higher cost, and I think Victoria is going to smash that later in when we talk about the white paper that she has been working with us on. But there is that perception that the cost of sourcing is higher if you're trying to get sustainable credentials within the goods or services that you're buying. Let's move on to the next question. in your organization, what priority is given to sustainability initiatives when competing with cost savings? And it's this competing objective that we're hearing so much around. And I guess the reality is, at the moment, cost savings taking over precedent over sustainability is being reported by 45% of our members, and by far the longest sort of response, 30% saying they're equally weighted. So I think we're making some progress. In terms of regardless of cost, gosh, that's a very low figure of 6%. Or 19 saying sustainability is only considered when there is no cost impact. So I like the brutal truth that we're able to share at the moment. And I think that really does sort of help resonate that it's tough out there. There's a lot of pressure to actually deliver. And therefore, you're constantly trying to work out and juggle these competing objectives. Okay, let's continue to build the picture. We then ask the question, do suppliers that are focused on sustainability offer long-term cost benefits despite the potential higher upfront costs? So again, back to perception. And we've had various conversations at our roundtable events talking about this. Again, back to perception of the duration and the return on investment that you see in terms of the benefits that can be delivered. So yeah, the long-term benefits outweigh any potential costs. Very low, only 6%. Now I think here, when you look at the longest line, it is a bit of a get out, because it's like, yeah, sometimes it depends on the category and supplier. 64%. But I think that shows the realism, what really is actually happening in terms of procurement. That long term, we don't think long term. I think we're so focused on having to achieve objectives in the current fiscal year, it does make it incredibly difficult to calculate ROI over a long period of time. So the reality is, yeah, companies are struggling. So if this relates to all that your experiences are at the moment, then at least you know that you're in good company there. Let's move on. Are sustainability targets integrated into procurement KPIs alongside cost-saving targets? We love KPIs in procurement. We've always loved KPIs. And I think the message here is sort of trying to have credibility in telling the rest of the organization what you are actually achieving. I think the longest one here, 34%. Yes, sustainability is measured, but cost savings are prioritized. It'd be fascinating to repeat this in sort of 3-4 years' time, just to see the trends, to see how things are changing. But I would suggest at this precise moment, we've got such a dilemma in terms of this balance between trying to achieve cost savings, trying to achieve sustainability, and therefore it's like, oh, how are you measuring it? What does that really look like? What can you do? And then, of course, there's the issue and the challenge actually around KPIs in its own right. And again, that's quite a minefield, as I'm sure you're all fully aware on that one. Which ones do you actually want to work on and report? We talk about sustainability, we talk about ESG, and again, we wanted to break it down because I mean, Victoria, you and I have had conversations. The priorities or the focus on the E, S, and the G, and it's like, okay, for indirect procurement, which components of ESG typically is the biggest challenge when considering and balancing against cost savings? And 62% say it is environmental, so that's the carbon reduction and sustainable materials. So I think it is harder, even though it's often the area that we talk more about if we are referring to ESG as a whole. The social side, the governance side, almost seem easier to justify and have agreed by the organization. So 62% saying that, yeah, environmental is the most sort of challenging area to focus on. We all know that we've constantly got a selling job to do in procurement, and I think we're good at it. Those that are successful in procurement are very good at managing stakeholders. And of course, stakeholders like the work that you do around sustainability. But again, we've got this dilemma when it comes to the objectives that the business or the stakeholders have got of cost savings and also the sustainability objectives. So demonstrating long-term reductions such as energy and efficiency, that helps. They get it when you talk about those areas. So that definitely is a sweet spot to communicate. When you're talking about alignment with customer and of course investor interest, that also makes it much easier to get stakeholders on board. Similarly, when you're talking about regulatory compliance or even on risk. So those are the topics that are going to resonate more with stakeholders if you're trying to get a business case or justification for taking the sustainability route. So I think, yeah, that anything to make life a little bit easier obviously does help in that way. I'm just going to pause there. Victoria, have I missed anything out from those survey results that we wanted to go through? As I say, just launched, just processed all that data. If you were someone that contributed to the survey, then thank you. All of the results definitely help present a good picture on that. Anything I've missed, Victoria?
I think just to build on what you were saying, Graham, is that a bit about the survey itself as well. It is incredible that you guys were able to galvanize people at such a short notice from your membership, and your membership is so broad. So what we're seeing is a cross section of companies. Although we're talking about indirects, yeah, we're talking about companies that are manufacturing companies as well as service companies. We're also talking about or have received feedback from companies that are all over the world. I'm sure that there were quite a lot of Asian companies as well as the US and Europe. So it's truly a cross section and a kind of a temperature check of how people are really feeling now and they're being able to give it in a safe space because they know obviously that we're harmonizing the results as we're presenting them. I think the other thing that I am, and you know how passionate I am about this subject, not only about human rights or ESG in general, and how I believe it is a competitive advantage for procurement to actually, embrace the whole gamut of sustainability. I do see a couple of things, like 3 themes emerging perhaps that I would like to leave the audience with, but maybe even they want to comment on what it says, because there's a lot of potential reasons for things. Like there is a measurement gap. People are easier doing sustainability programs, is easier getting on the bandwagon, but also embracing sustainability if there are real organizational objectives and organizational commitment leading by the top. So there is this angle on KPIs, there's this angle on measurement. So I guess what I'm taking away from that, Graham, is that if an organization has clearly embedded sustainability in their balanced scorecard as for equal measure as cost savings, as quality, etc., then they're driving much faster because they're living and breathing it. It's part of their objectives. It impacts on their bonus. And I've been to a number of conversations where this is echoed, where the leadership is very serious about sustainability. It's in their ethos, vision, mission, and in their bonus impacting objectives. Things go much faster. And yeah, there is a clear line of sight of how you have sustainability versus your bottom line and the company's bottom line. The other thing I'm seeing is that there's a lot of competing priorities. And of course, if people talk about sustainability, but they don't truly give it the measurement that it deserves, the KPI, then of course the KPIs that hold most importance, cost saving, cost avoidance, whatever it might be, are the ones that take precedent. And I'm also reading into these 6 questions that we asked a lot of implementation barriers. So if people do not know, they say, yeah, sustainability programs work, but only if there's a clear cost saving. My challenge back, or what I would like to tease out, is are they actually, do they create the right sustainability business cases? Are they working off business cases that were there, 20, 30 years ago? Or are they opening the, are they looking into more complex areas that create a more positive business case and sustainability, which means completely thinking about other elements, other price points, other inputs that would give you the return on investment. And we were talking about that a while ago. You buy a styrofoam box, the unit price is cheap, but you have to throw it away and you can't use it, and you have to then pay for recycling. You open up that business case into this TCO of 3 or 5 years, and all of a sudden a recyclable box, a reusable box, becomes so much more cost effective, not by pure unit cost, but actually through a life cycle, of a business case of 3-5 years, because it then becomes cheaper based on the amount of time you use it, and also because you do not have these other recycling and other costs. So it's teaching also procurement how to create these sustainability business cases, how to calculate it, how to present it in category meetings, how to also present it to the suppliers and to their leadership. So I think that training and implementation and measurement gap is something that we've seen and that we are really keen to address and help to address. So it's a brilliant kind of piece of real benchmarking, real feeling that we got, sense that we got from the category managers.
And it's always good when you've actually got data to confirm the perception.
Yeah,
I think that's really been very, very helpful. So we've almost outlined the challenge. We've outlined where procurement has been struggling or continues to struggle. But of course, we're going to give you some answers. We're going to give you a bit of positioning that's going to really, really help. So delighted now to, let's move on to the second sort of part. And that is a white paper. So we've got a white paper. And Victoria, you've been absolutely fantastic at working with us. I mean, you've done the majority of the work on this, really addressing the issue of balancing sustainability and cost, specifically looking at indirect procurement. Because the boxes, the packaging for direct, I think we're further down the track on that. But when it comes to indirect procurement, it's less obvious, and it's not necessarily the same priority for organizations. Indirect is always second to direct procurement, but that's what makes it really interesting. So it's how to get this win-win approach. So you've got a document, and you're going to sort of talk it through, and then we're making that document available for people to take away, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, so hot off the press. I understand it was only completed a couple of hours ago. So that's we present it as hot off the press as opposed to we ran late. But never mind, it is complete. We've made it. Our marketing team have been fantastic. So it's about the quick wins to get this sort of transformation and look at sort of the right investments that are needed. And it includes sort of ROI calculations and information that is really going to help the practitioner. Victoria, you masterminded this. Would you like to sort of talk us through some of the observations and some of the points that you'd like to share with everyone today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Graham. I think there are a couple of things to note here. We ran that poll, but actually you and I have had conversations over the years, and then as Casme runs various forums, even last year it became clear that cost savings is becoming a priority and is edging back on the top one priority over everything else on the CPO agenda. So that got us, I think, thinking about we need to give the tools and the methodologies and very pragmatic support to the category managers to be able to further sustainability in their categories of indirects. And as you said, of course, directs have been at it for a longer time. It is sometimes much easier to run these programs, but indirect seems to be forgotten. And even when and that is kind of what this latest survey that we were talking about also is showing. Yeah, we need help. We need help because cost becomes the pressure. So what Casme was in the unique position of doing, and I'm glad for the collaboration that we had, is saying, okay, well, we equip you with a white paper. And I think your marketing team did a great job, because the white paper, I think we created so much content that we had to cut it in 2 papers, because there's so much that the guys can do. And what we've done is we really combed through a lot of examples from sustainability reports, from conversations, from Casme roundtables and examiners, to showcase best practice and pragmatic steps that people have been doing. So we're delighted to be able to give something back to the community and say, use it, challenge it, work with it, feedback on it, so that we can create a bigger repository of information to help you progress sustainability. So the premise of the paper, and is your and my passion, is as well to say sustainability makes good business sense. But you need to realize also that, you need to chew the elephant a piece at a time. So don't kill yourself. It's a change management program. So do not try to do too much at the same time. It's a program. It creates positive collateral. You need quite a lot of collaboration you need to create this collaborative environment with your suppliers as well as with your internal stakeholders. Learn, get confidence, and then you can create more complex investment-based sustainability decisions. So we believe cost-effective sustainability is possible. We are starting with short-term win-win strategies that are even with examples of what are corporations out there doing in indirects. We're also giving measurements, examples of how to measure ROI, because this is going back to what we've picked up from the benchmark. People don't know how to measure it. So let's give them a couple ideas. And then we also talk about the development of it, of talking more of investment-based sustainability. So again, back to the benchmarking, some people do believe that even if services, commodities cost more, but there is a clear business case, and this business case gets approved as long as there's a line of sight and ROI. So we're also giving examples of more complex projects that have been successfully completed by companies around the world that require more investment, more thinking, more ROI. We're even giving some examples of green funding that is available that people should be using and encouraging their suppliers to use. So a very extensive paper, supposed to be pragmatic and helpful. I guess the thing to take away as well is that a lot of it is also about enabling procurement to rise and shine and embrace sustainability as a competitive advantage of the procurement department, because that will give us the competitive advantage within the company to bring something new. It also actually is a good business case, because it is something that helps us with price volatility, with resource scarcity. It's not, there is a really good reason why we want to use sustainable products or energy, etc. I cannot emphasize supplier partnership, supplier collaboration, positioning enough, because there's a two-step process. We need to find suppliers who are willing to collaborate and to invest, co-invest, and go on this journey with us. We also need to find the right-minded suppliers with whom we can actually collaborate, whose values also dovetail ours, so that we can create these POCs, sustainable POCs that we can go to the board with and then say, look, it is actually a positive return on investment. Can we have maybe more money, more resources to create bigger programs? And also underlying then that anything complex needs to have a bigger business case. And I guess it is echoing now in the, with the geopolitical tensions and the tariffs and maybe the mood towards more conservatism also in Europe, that everything needs to be underpinned by a robust business case. And we need to be creative enough to be able to do that, to be able to create a new narrative for that ROI and business case. Because gone are the days where, and we were discussing in another conference, that regulation used to be the backbone of why we did sustainability. And in Europe, now that the regulation is watered down, people are sitting back and saying, well, we did all of that because of regulation, not because it was the right thing to do. But now that the regulation is taken away from us, we need to sit there and again put our thinking caps on and say, okay, why are we actually doing it? Come on, let's create these business cases. Let's learn from each other. So we are hoping that this paper will give people the ideas, the confidence to start, and also create, as I said, a competitive advantage for the procurement teams in that they will be able to create better category strategies by taking sustainability into account. So a long-winded, very passionate explanation as to why we believe it's a really brilliant idea to create that and why we invite people to use it.
Excellent. Thank you, Victoria. Any further examples or something to whet people's appetite that you'd like to draw out from that that we could share live now? Talk about putting you under the spot, because that I totally get it about the business case and the ROI, but you've also got to be mindful of the pressures that procurement are under. And so it's not easy to get that right, to get that message. So I always see that it's almost the conflict is stronger now than it probably has been over the last 3 or 4 years, or if longer. As a general sense, I would suggest that actually procurement has gone backwards. I've said this a few times recently, because we've almost gone back to 2016 when we were probably more focused just on cost reduction then. We almost used the pandemic to our advantage. We've demonstrated how we can respond in such volatile times, but almost a lot of the, arguably, what we have been working on, whether it is sustainability, whether it's risk, whether it's some other transformational investments, I know from a lot of companies that's gone out the window because the CFO just wants cost savings, and you're trying to balance the two. So let's give us an example, Victoria.
I think it is true, but I think also this is our opportunity to shine and get more creative. And also there is a lot of things that we do in procurement and around the company as a whole, with collaboration with R&D, operations, finance, whatever, that actually are sustainability initiatives that we don't think of calling sustainable or circular initiatives. We just ran a panel this Tuesday about circularity with Casme members, and the takeaway is that there's a lot of reuse, repurpose, reduce, don't use examples around there. They're just not structured in a program, but people inherently are already doing the right thing. And there are some amazing examples of people who are, of course, way ahead of it and implementing, composting, green buildings. There's even stories of people not buying flowers for their receptions because they actually are thinking, what could they do away with, which is a nice but not necessary purpose. Well, and that speaks to sustainability because actually, tulips are actually very unsustainable, and to deliver them is also not sustainable, and then it's a cost saving.
Victor, I can't believe it. I think you've chosen tulips as an example because all our friends in continental Europe, in Holland, are in bed. You've just upset all the tulip growers. That was a great
Listen, if you looked at my kitchen, I have tulips. I love them. My tulips are local tulips. But this is the thing. It's also about saying, where do you buy things from? Do you have to buy things immediately? Do you have to? People were talking about upping MOQs, minimum order quantities, and also challenging. Do you have to throw things away, or can you mend them and recycle them? And this is just like Casme members talking about cost-saving initiatives that are actually ticking the circularity and the sustainability box. But there's facilities management and energy efficiency. Change the LED lights, switch off the lights, put off air conditioning up. We're doing that already, but nobody is talking about it as sustainability initiatives. But if you build on that, there's going to be immense, immense pride also in the company that we're doing something about it. Transportation and logistics. I know packaging is a bit of a funny one, right? It could be direct, it could be indirect, but logistics is an indirect category for a lot of companies. And there's a huge movement in logistics to actually, from quick wins, again, MOQ, look at the delivery van, make sure you don't have empty vans, make sure that you have systems that actually route optimize to to better packaging. There's a lot of things that are out there that people can pick up and start using in their toolkit. Waste reduction, recycling, water resource conservation, digitalization. Everybody is talking about that. We have that in Asia where people just love signing, but actually, if in your company or if in your country wet signature is not required, getting away from all that paper is an exceptional cost saving, but also like all the archiving that you don't have to do. Cost saving, but also sustainability initiative. Digitalization is huge, reduction of paper. So business travel, webinars, what we're doing here, rather than being together as much as I like meeting face to face. But the fact that we're being able to do that, reaching so many people, but actually minimizing the travel footprint, this is sustainable. And again, this is inviting us to be a bit more creative in how we come up with cost saving initiatives and how we tag them. So there are concrete examples there of like the quick wins that you can do in your categories and say, have you done that? Have you done that? Oh, I haven't done this one. Maybe I should explore it, and to start your thinking going on this.
And I particularly
So thanks for putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I love putting you on the spot, Victoria. You'll get your own back, won't you? I know.
Yeah.
I think
The one
it's
in the morning.
So interesting it's a mindset. That's what you're talking about. It's a mindset that the chances are you're doing a lot of good things anyway, but not necessarily labeling them. And I think if you then do start labeling them and grouping them together, then sort of linking that to potential ROI, that sets a baseline that gets you going, gets the conversations going, and therefore then makes it easier to start looking at new areas that perhaps you'd not previously considered. So
and that flexes. You're absolutely right. Sorry to interrupt. That
no.
what we're trying to say as well, that flexes procurement's muscle, because if you've been buying the same thing as some people have over and over again, you get it. I had that in my own experience. You get a bit jaded. It's the same thing. By inserting social aspects, sustainability in there, you're starting to think about other risks, other opportunities, exploring more within your category and reigniting the interest. That creativity gets you more excited in the job, more fulfilled in the job from a personal perspective, attracts younger talent because all the millennials and young people, I mean, we are also young at heart
Of course.
and we are passionate about sustainability. But the young people demand it, right?
Yes.
They want to have a purpose to go to work. And if in procurement we can give them this purpose and they can actually pilot something that is new and different and come up with their own ideas and add value, it's huge empowerment for the new generation to do something, and it's good for our profession. So I think whole round, for the planet, for the profession, for the organization, is the right thing to do. We just need to tell the story and create the value story that we're trying to help with.
Excellent. Good. Thank you, Victoria. We wanted to do some live polls, so let's do that, because having sort of really positioned everything, I'm really sort of keen to get your sort of immediate views on a couple of questions. So let me just share the sharing the poll. Is that working? I was hoping to share my screen there. It seems very slow. There we go. Right. We've got the first poll. Which procurement initiatives best balance sustainability and cost savings? Okay, you can only select two, so select the top two.
But I think there are more. You can toggle down, right? Because it's not visible.
Yeah, there must be.
Actually
Sorry,
six choices.
Six choices. I knew the word. Yeah, that's six choices.
Lovely.
So let's. Let's.
Six choices, and I think what we're trying to do for everyone who's listening is now we want to harness the experience and the knowledge in the virtual room to say, but what have you done that made, we've created the white paper, but what have you done that really started your sustainability journey going? So let's do the can do, canvas the people and see what they have done successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have got increased recycled materials, reduced packaging, energy saving products, route and logistics optimization, travel reduction, and car sharing. I think number 6 is digitalizing manual and paper-based processes. So select the two that, from your experience, you can balance that sustainability objectives and also the cost savings. Because that will then help shape the priorities for everyone. I think
I'm glad that people are saying route and logistics optimization, because that's very close to my heart. See, when you click on the click your own answers, I think it comes up with the percentage, yes. Right? Did you see that? That's pretty neat.
And I can't tell whether everyone's voted or not, but if you've responded, you'll see what the results are looking like. So yeah, you're right, Victoria. So route and logistics optimization is slightly in the lead, but interesting. I mean, really, they're all pretty good ideas. So it's a question of priorities. The reduced packaging is low, and I'd suggest that's because we've done it. I would really hope that by now you've done what you can do to reduce packaging. So different priorities. The recycled materials is a challenge, and there's a whole debate on paper. So we won't go there. So that can be a more difficult one to get across. And just because paper is PEFC or FSC certified doesn't necessarily mean it's got the best sustainability credentials, but that's another story. But yeah, definitely logistics is the area to go after, and even travel reduction. Maybe companies have already done that, and with all the pressure on cost, I mean, I know many companies have just got complete travel bans still very much in place. So almost riding on the back of that enables you to achieve some of these objectives. Thank you for that first poll. Let's then move on to the second poll. And we want to ask the question here: which indirect procurement categories offer the most? No, we don't. Which procurement initiative best, sorry, I'm getting confused here, aren't I? Which indirect, it's late. Which indirect procurement categories offer the most cost savings? So we're looking at category level here.
Now we're looking at a category lens, more of a category lens. And the other thing is, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Catherine is looking and saying that there are some questions. I know we're nearly out of time, but maybe we can take one question after the poll. Depends, Graham, how you want to run it.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's make sure we do that. But okay, so just respond as to which category, because again, I think this is going to give you a bit of direction. For those that look after multiple categories, then again, hopefully that will give you a bit of a guide there. So business travel leading at the moment, juggling with facilities. So there's the two categories there. So it's important. I mean, HR close to zero, but actually there probably are some opportunities there. But I think, knowing the priorities, we've got limited time, limited resource. So where can we best sort of help and put our most sort of significant effort into to helping out there? I think we've captured enough on that. So let's then move on. And before we get to key takeaways, let's go to the questions.
So if you go into the Q&A, there is one.
God, it always takes time to understand the question, doesn't it? Thank you. What strategies could be implemented to address the shortage of specialized training and skilled procurement practitioners in adopting SDG communities? Oh, it's a tough question, Victoria. Have you got an immediate thought on that? I guess participating in things like this.
I think exactly right. But also there are a lot of what I now learned, there are quite a lot of resources and NGOs that are helping. So for example, there is the Supply Chain Sustainability School that's been created within the facilities management space by 7 facilities management companies and the UK government. And they do a lot of training. It's all facilities management, construction related, but they do a lot of sustainability training for free. And what we like about what they do, and I go in and do training as well. What I like about it is that it doesn't talk just about carbon. It talks about forced labor. The other Beth was talking about the cost, like how do you do the calculating the TCO on forced labor. They are really looking at the other aspects, like the whole ESG gamut. So find out what industry bodies can do training. And of course, there's a lot of fee-paying training that other companies, SIPs and others are doing, ISM, you name them. They create training sessions. So there's plenty of stuff. But SPP, join the chapters. We have a human rights chapter, we have a scope 3 chapter, we have a biodiversity chapter, just to name a few. There people do exchange ideas and help each other out. So join a community.
Great. And the second question from Beth is really highlighting the complexity of that total cost of ownership calculation. And we could all think and take time to work out what should go into that calculation. But you're right, Beth, some costs are not easily measured, exposure to chemicals, forced labor. That's a tough question. Victoria, I don't know if I haven't got anything I could help on that, to be perfectly honest.
So what our white paper does, it looks at the easy, straightforward calculations at first. In order to make the more complex BCO business cases and TCO calculations, they have to be really driven by the inputs of the company. What I understand is that there are some frameworks out there where you can input your own metrics, but they're quite more sophisticated. There are a lot of support now, again, for SMEs across Europe and the UK. Not sure about the US, but there must be, to start plugging in your own metrics into these TCO calculators. So it'd be great. And I think as part of the SPP, we also want to bring more of these resources to the fore for people to start using them. They're not easy, but this is what we need to do. I think the Brazilian company Natura created a measurement framework that really looks at the impact of forced labor, exposure, deforestation, and the impact on the bottom line and the growth of the company that they're giving for free. So there are things out there, you just need to look for them.
Excellent. I'm conscious of time. I think we need to look at the sort of key takeaways from this this session. I think a message consistent across all the presentations today: sustainability is no longer optional; it's an imperative. You've got to do it. You've got to get on with it too. I think that's also loud and clear. We've been hearing that for a while now. Victoria, your wonderful white paper really does give some sort of quick win examples, as some of the examples that you've shared when I put you under the spotlight over the last half hour or so. Scale up strategic investments to deliver that benefit. Look long term. I appreciate it is not easy, and with your CFO demanding sort of a return on investment, business cases, short-term fixes, especially given the pressure on cost, it's going to be just a battle. And I think just having that reassurance that everyone is almost in the same situation, trying to have that battle is going to give you a bit of reassurance anyway. But we are in procurement uniquely positioned to really leverage the relationships with stakeholders, relationships with suppliers, and it's through that communication that we are then going to be able to make that difference. Doing nothing isn't an option. Doing something and putting it in the right direction through the relationships is at least taking us in that right direction. Victoria, anything to add before we wrap up today?
No, thank you very much, Graham. I think these are the real takeaways. Just invite people to download the paper, to join Casme if they can, because it's a great community, and also there's a lot of information that people learn from each other. And I can't wait to hear some feedback on the paper from people who are reading it.
Yeah, excellent, great. Well, thank you very much, Victoria. It's been really great to spend the last 50 odd minutes. We've gone over our time, so we'll probably get shot. But thank you all for spending the time with us today. And yeah, hope that's been of interest. Love to get the feedback in any way, and I'm sure the conversation will continue on LinkedIn as well, as that's also a very beneficial way to also share information. So thank you all for now.
Thank you.
This is an event bringing together CPOs to collaborate and discuss on everything to do with procurement and how we can use procurement to drive sustainability at scale and at speed.
I would say it's really important to engage them early and often. We have to remember that the job of a CEO means they have a million things on their mind at any given point in time. So I think being able to break down the message of sustainability into really clear things, what is it that we need?
I also want to learn from everyone I work with, and I want to demonstrate that I respect them as well as I need them in order for us to do great work together. It is my goal to have those same types of relationships out of kindness, thoughtfulness, openness, vulnerability, directness, because we all have a common goal.
Scope 3 is within our responsibility, and Scope 3 is the largest part of the impact associated with being able to achieve the goals we've set for 2030. So as a function, our role is critically important to the success of being able to achieve that.
The legacy that all of the current CPOs can and should leave is that we make those first foundational steps. We create the notion that nobody should do this on their own. We can collaborate to find solutions.
Far too often, industries and sectors operate within silos. For the first time, what the Sustainable Procurement Pledge and the team have done is to break through those silos and allow for learnings across sectors, allow for individuals across sectors, learn from each other.
The benefit of the Sustainable Procurement Pledge is that you can do it together, and being able to leverage what we built collectively and what we're all doing individually to be able to drive this forward is phenomenal.
It's now the time to get more procurement professionals.
Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Melissa. I am the director of SPP, and it is my pleasure to say welcome to you today at the 4th Annual World Sustainable Procurement Day. Whether it's the first time that you join us for this event or you've been here since the beginning of SPP, it is genuinely inspiring to have you among us today. Over the past 5 years, we've spent a lot of time and a lot of energy convincing you, the procurement professionals, that you are the change makers, that you have the power to truly change the world. A bold claim, I know, but we really do believe, and many of you have come along with us and believe that that is a true claim. I want to challenge you today to make the most out of this event. This is your safe space, your neutral, collaborative, open space. And I would like you to ask the hard questions, to learn something, to get inspired,